There are moments in life when you hear a truth your heart isn't ready to accept. A moment when you know, deep down, that what you're about to learn might change the way you see the world forever. And today, I have to tell you a truth like that. Donald Trump just said he's going to save the economy. He wants to do that. I believe he wants to. But there is a problem bigger than all of us. A problem that doesn't care about politics, doesn't care who sits in the White House. A problem called mathematics, and it's heading straight for us. If you're watching this video, I want you to stay just a few more minutes. Because what you're about to hear might save you from the mistake millions of Americans are about to make. I promise you this. When you finish what comes next, you'll see the economy with different eyes. You'll understand what no one wants to say out loud. And you'll realize why no one, not even a president, can stop what's coming. Before we go any deeper, there's something important you need to know. What I'm about to share isn't meant to support or attack anyone. This isn't a red versus blue debate. It's not about parties, slogans, or the divisions that have torn us apart for years. Because when it comes to the economy, numbers don't care who you vote for. Numbers have no emotions, no loyalty, no bias. They simply reflect reality, and sometimes reality is harsher than any argument outside. I understand. We all have political beliefs. We all have people we support, leaders we hope will change the country. That's human. That's natural. But just for a moment, I want you to set aside those feelings. For just a few minutes, look at the economy, the way a father worries about his family's future, or the way a mother tries to protect every dollar the household has saved. If we brush away the political dust covering our vision, you'll see the real picture. And once you see clearly, you'll understand why what's coming is bigger than any president, bigger than any expectation we place on them. There are things in life we can choose, but there are also things that happen because they follow their own natural laws. If you throw a rock into the sky, you can't pray it stays up forever. It will fall not because someone wants it to, but because that's how the world works. And the American economy today is at a point where the laws of reality no longer negotiate. The coming crisis isn't happening because a president did something wrong. It's not because one political party is in power. It's the result of decades of accumulation, small decisions, overlooked mistakes, problems covered by temporary hope. Eventually, math demands the truth we've tried to ignore. Imagine a family that's lived on credit cards for too long, every month, paying just a little, every year, borrowing a little more. Costs rising faster than income. They can pretend everything is fine for a while, keep smiling at the dinner table. But once the bill outgrows their ability to pay, no prayer can change the arithmetic. America is at that moment. The numbers no longer bend to desire. They only follow the rules. And when those rules activate, a crisis isn't a question of if, only when. And if you're here, you're about to understand why 2026 isn't a pessimistic prediction. It's the destination of a path we've walked too long to turn back from. When people talk about national debt, many feel it's something distant, something for the government to worry about, not something that affects daily life. But if you've ever looked at your bank account and wondered how you'll pay next month's bills, you already understand exactly what the U.S. economy is facing. Imagine having a debt larger than what you earn in an entire year. You want to pay it off, but every month you can only afford the interest, never the principal. And worse, even while trying to save, you have to borrow more just to stay afloat. That is America today. $36 trillion. That number isn't just big. It's a wall pulling the entire economy closer to the edge every single day. Every year, we add another $2 trillion to that bill. Interest rates keep rising, and the interest alone now costs over $1 trillion per year, more than what we spend on defense or education. And here's the terrifying part. The most important national expenses, Social Security, Medicare, defense, are almost impossible to cut, which means no matter who leads, no matter what they want to change, the country is locked inside an equation no one can solve anymore. This isn't your fault. It isn't the fault of one president. It's the result of half a century of spending borrowed from the future. And now, the future is knocking on the door. If you've ever faced a decision where every path leads to pain, you understand the situation the Federal Reserve is in today. The Fed is like someone balancing on a tightrope over a canyon. One wrong move means falling, but standing still won't save them either. To control inflation, they must raise interest rates. Everyone knows that. But when rates rise, home prices fall, businesses shrink, jobs disappear, and the economy tilts. A family wanting to buy a house, a small business owner trying to get a loan, all squeezed by a single decision. But if the Fed keeps rates low to protect growth, inflation eats every family's savings. Groceries rise, bills rise. People feel like they're working harder, but owning less. Their trust in the dollar starts to crack. Raise rates? The economy suffers. Keep rates low? The dollar suffers. There is no good choice left. We spent a decade addicted to cheap money, pushing risk into the future, believing every crisis could be saved with the next rate cut. But the future can't carry more. And now, with the easy options gone, reality is fully exposed. This is no longer a question of what the Fed will do. It's a question of when the consequences hit. If you've cared for aging parents, you know the worry. As they grow weaker, medical costs rise, and you realize time waits for no one. Now, imagine not just your family, but an entire nation entering that stage. Every day, over 10,000 Americans turn 65. 10,000 people, real people who need pensions, Medicare, and the care they worked their entire lives to earn. But here's the problem. The generation behind them is smaller, fewer workers, fewer taxpayers, more retirees depending on a shrinking base. In 1950, there were 16 workers supporting one retiree. Today, less than 3. Soon, it will be 2. You can't build a massive house on 2 small pillars, but that's exactly what America's safety net is trying to do. And the heartbreaking truth: no policy can fix this quickly. You can't create millions of new workers overnight. You can't undo 40 years of demographic change. We are entering a time when more people need help than ever before, but fewer people are able to provide it. That is the formula for overload, for promises that can't be kept, for a system forced to collapse, whether we want it to or not. For decades, Americans grew up believing the dollar would always be the center of the world, that no matter the wars, the crises, or the political shifts, the planet would keep trading in our currency. That belief was once true. But the world is shifting inch by inch away from the position the United States held for nearly a century. Imagine running a store where every customer uses the same currency. You feel safe. You feel in control. No reason to worry. Then one day, a few customers switch to another form of money. The next day, more. A month later, half your customers aren't using your currency anymore. Suddenly, you have no control over the flow of money. Your rules stop mattering. That's what's happening to the dollar. Countries are trading in their own currencies. They're storing gold instead of dollars. They're building new payment systems that bypass the U.S. And when nations like China, Russia, Brazil, or even Saudi Arabia do that, the old financial order starts to shake. What's frightening isn't that they hate America. It's that they no longer trust America to stay stable forever. Trust is the foundation of every currency. When trust leaves, value leaves with it. And as the world needs fewer dollars, America loses its greatest financial power. When that power shrinks, our ability to borrow shrinks and costs rise. This isn't a distant threat. It's happening right now. If you've ever walked through a city full of shiny office buildings and noticed dark, empty windows inside, you've seen one of the most dangerous cracks in the American economy. Behind every office tower lies more than concrete and glass. There are loans, mortgages, and financial structures holding the system together. Remote work emptied millions of square feet of office space. Building owners lost tenants. Revenue collapsed. Property values plunged. And here's the nightmare: over $1.5 trillion in commercial real estate loans will come due in the next few years. Imagine buying a home with ultra-low interest rates. Everything seems fine. Then, refinancing day arrives. Rates triple. You can't afford it. You walk away. That is what's happening, but with skyscrapers. And who holds these loans? Not Wall Street. Not the giant banks. Local banks. The ones holding people's paychecks. The ones lending to small businesses. The ones supporting local communities. When buildings can't pay, these banks fall first. One building collapses, a bank collapses, dozens of small businesses collapse, an entire community follows. This isn't a prediction. It's already happening. We're living inside a slow-moving crisis, quiet at first, then suddenly explosive. If you've ever had a moment where your income wasn't enough and you had no choice but to borrow just to keep going, you know exactly where the U.S. government stands today. Every year, national spending exceeds national income. Not by a little, but by $2 trillion. That gap is far too large to fix by cutting small programs or raising taxes slightly. It's a canyon, and there is only one way to fill it: printing more money. People hate hearing that. But if the government suddenly stopped printing, Social Security checks would halt, Medicare would break down, defense would lose funding, millions would lose assistance. The economy would freeze instantly. That's not a fantasy, that's math. But printing money creates another spiral. Inflation. Prices rise. Wages shrink. Every American feels it in grocery carts, gas bills, and every receipt. The dollars are still there, but their power isn't. It's a brutal trade-off. Stop printing, the economy collapses. Keep printing, the currency collapses. No good choices. Only less terrible ones. Which is why, no matter who enters the White House, the money printers must run. Not because they want to, but because stopping is even more dangerous. In life, some risks are visible. Others hide beneath the surface, silent, invisible, until they explode and wipe everything out. The derivatives market is that silent bomb. Over $600 trillion, a number so massive, no one truly understands it. But the danger isn't the size, it's the way these contracts are interconnected, like a giant web. If one point snaps, the entire web can collapse. We saw it in 2008 when a small slice of the housing market blew up and dragged the entire financial system with it. But this time, it's not just housing. It's interest rates, currencies, commodities, everything. And when rates rise too fast or the dollar swings too wildly, the derivatives market stretches like a wire about to snap. The terrifying truth: no one controls this bomb. Not the government, not the Fed, not any president. Its collapse isn't a decision. It's a natural reaction of a system built too high on a foundation too weak. In the financial world, money isn't paper. Money isn't digits on a screen. Money at its core is trust. When people believe a dollar has value, it has value. When trust weakens, the entire system trembles like a house on sand. Today, the most dangerous thing isn't debt. It isn't interest rates. It isn't money printing. The most dangerous thing is that the world no longer trusts America to maintain stability the way it once did. And when trust leaves, it rarely returns. Think of a relationship. Once trust is damaged, you can apologize or explain, but things never truly return to the way they were. People guard themselves. They keep distance. They look for alternatives. Countries are doing exactly that with the dollar. They've watched us print uncontrollably. They've seen political division, riots, banking crises. And quietly, they're moving assets into gold, into their own currencies, into new payment systems. No noise, no announcements. But every move carries the same message. The trust is gone. And an economy can survive many things, but not the collapse of trust. When crisis hits, people always look to the White House. We expect a strong leader to step out, say something that calms the markets, unveil policies that can turn the tide. That's human nature. We want to believe someone powerful can extinguish the fire in the dark. And Trump, with his decisiveness, will act. He'll try. No doubt about that. He will push for stimulus checks, like during the pandemic. He knows desperate people need fast relief. He'll do it. But each check is like pouring gasoline on inflation, weakening the dollar, worsening the root problem. He will pressure the Fed to cut interest rates so businesses can breathe. Sounds good in the short term. But cutting rates while inflation is alive is like opening the door to let water in because the boat is leaking. You stop it from tipping, but you sink faster. Trump might try what he's done in business: renegotiate debt, change terms, push pressure into the future. But a nation is not a company. If America asks to repay less than it owes, global trust collapses instantly. The dollar isn't just currency, it's the foundation of world trade. If the foundation cracks, the whole global financial building shakes. And like every government cornered by monetary pressure, he may be forced to introduce measures Americans never imagined. Capital controls, limits on money leaving the country. A new version of the dollar may be digital, may be asset-backed. Not because he wants to, but because there will be no other choice. Trump isn't indifferent. He will fight. He will use every tool in reach. But he can only react, not prevent. Because the storm was formed decades ago, built from long-term debt, easy decisions, and delayed fixes. No president can undo 50 years of buildup in 4 or 8 years. And he will be blamed. People will say he caused the crisis. People will say he made it worse. But the truth is different. He's simply the one in the driver's seat when the car was already rolling downhill. Understanding this isn't about defending anyone. It's about seeing the truth. The solution won't come from the White House. It must come from you through your preparation before the storm reaches your door. Looking at the darkening economic landscape, it's easy to feel afraid. But fear doesn't save us. Awareness does. Action does. Preparation does. And the right preparation is the line between those who survive the storm and those swept away by it. First, escape dependence on a weakening dollar. When governments print money, paper assets lose value. Real assets do not. Gold, silver, real estate with real utility, things that can't be printed. In every past crisis, people who held real assets fared better than those holding cash. Second, reduce debt, especially variable rate debt. When interest rates spike, small debts turn into crushing burdens. A family without debt can maneuver through anything. Financial freedom begins with removing the weights dragging you down. Third, build multiple income streams. The era of one job being enough is over. Markets shift too fast. Companies downsize. Factories close. But if you have 2 or 3 income sources, you have a safety net. Learn new skills. Freelance. Invest in what you understand. Diversification is armor. Fourth, develop real-world skills, the kind that create real value. Repairing, building, growing, programming, analyzing. Anything people will pay for, even in hard times. When the world shakes, people with real skills stand firm. Fifth, build community. No one survives crisis alone. A strong family, supportive friends, a professional network that helps one another. Sometimes your greatest asset in chaos isn't money, it's people. Finally, prepare mentally. This may be the hardest. Crisis doesn't just hit wallets. It hits hearts. It causes panic. It triggers fear-driven mistakes. You need calm, a plan, a clear set of actions for when the worst happens. Crisis spares no one, but it always rewards those who prepare. If you've listened this far, you're already ahead of most people. There are moments in history when separate forces collide at the same time, and that is exactly what awaits us between 2026 and 2027. Not one event, but many pieces falling into place, forming a picture no nation wants to see. In this period, the largest commercial real estate debts will mature all at once. Empty buildings will face new interest rates. Many owners won't survive. Bad loans will surface. At the same time, America's Social Security Fund reaches exhaustion, meaning the government must borrow more just to keep its promises, triggering a new debt spiral. And here's what worries experts the most. Many BRICS nations plan to roll out new payment systems that reduce dependence on the dollar, a direct blow to the lever America has used to borrow and print for decades. When these 3 waves crash together, they don't create rough seas. They create a perfect storm, a moment when any policy becomes nothing more than a delay, not a solution. And that moment is closer than you think. After all you've heard, there is one simple but most important truth. No one is coming to save you. No president, no government, no policy can reverse 50 years of buildup. But you are different. You can prepare. You can act. You can protect your family before the storm touches your doorstep. If this video helped you see what's coming more clearly, share it so others have a chance too. And don't forget to subscribe, we have much more to talk about as we prepare you for the most difficult period of this decade.